Good morning. On behalf of the RDIEC and Southeast Cornerstone Public School Division, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Neal Lithicum here today. He's going to be talking about our most valuable resource on Earth, and that would be water. I'm going to let you take her away, Neal, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jeff, for the intro there. Yes, it is a very valuable resource. I've worked for the Water Security Agency. We've had a number of different names over the years, but all the same kind of work. Currently, I'm the supervisor of operations and maintenance in the southeast of the province, which looks after a number of dams, or we look after a number of dams in the southeast and conveyance channels and stuff like that. I've worked for this will be my 29th year, I believe. Kind of a small lifetime, even maybe a large one when you think about it, but they've been good years all the way along. So I'm just going to go through kind of from high school to how I got to where I was or am now. And I'll just talk to the slides as they come across. So hope you enjoy. So road to my current position. Started, how did I get it into what I'm doing? I was in school. I enjoyed math, physics, trig, those kinds of things. I went to school for surveying. I went to Moose Jaw. It's called Saskatchewan Polytechnic now, but at the time it was SciAst as I know it. I believe they changed the name of surveying. It's now geomatics engineering technology. A lot of it's actually connected to civil engineering technology and that kind of thing. So, and there's water resources there too that have a lot of similar crossovers with regards to surveying for the most part. Started work after I was in a co-op work term or a co-op program, and started my work term after graduation at the time it was called Sask Water, which is now the Water Security Agency, as a rod person. Rod person is someone when you're surveying is more or less measuring up the earth, measuring any kind of thing that needs to be measured, really. So whether you're designing stuff or staking out where to build the road, how, where's your house going to go, those are all kind of things that are related to surveying and civil engineering type of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I got my start back in 1995. After that, as a rodman, I ended up getting a job reading instrumentation, geotechnical instrumentation at the dams in the southeast, based out of the Rafferty Dam, which I have a picture here a little bit later. This is actually one of our dams that you see at this picture. Is it's up by Main Price Park. It's kind of in between Estevan and Weyburn. So geotechnical instrumentation is there's instruments that are installed in the embankment of dams, and they are monitoring water pore pressure within the dam. They're monitoring how the dam moves, those kinds of things. Like if the reservoir fills up, it puts pressure on the dam, and it's not a solid structure. It will bend, flex, move, and then they're designed to move some. That's normal, and we just keep an eye on that kind of thing. And that's kind of what my job was for about 16 years. And I worked at various dams throughout the province, from Yorkton to Moose Jaw and in between. So decent amount of experience there. For a brief period, I was looking after both the surveying part of the dam. So there's like pins on the dams. I'll show you a few slides later, just kind of what that's all about. and the instrumentation for a while as leading both of those departments. And then it's been about 2012, 2013, I guess it was, I became the supervisor of operations and maintenance for the Southeast group in the province for the Water Security Agency, to which I currently am in that position right now. Job duties. Currently, I guess probably my main job as a supervisor is making sure that we talk about operational readiness. And that is, if there was a flood today, are we ready for it? Do all the spillway gates work? Is the dam in good shape? Is there going to be an erosion problem? All those kinds of things are things that we kind of, as an organization that I'm leading in the Southeast, that we are trying to resolve any issues to be ahead of the game. Nobody knows when a flood's coming. It's I've always said we're like 5 days away from a major flood. So I was here's a photo of Gardner Dam. Very impressive dam in our province. It would be the biggest one in our organization. This spillway, I was fortunate enough to fly up and take a few photos of it when it was spilling in 2013. And the flow on this spillway, this is the most they've ever released since it was built in kind of around the late 60s. So it was pretty, that's the thing with some of these dams. Some of the events do not happen very frequently. They might be a 1 in 100-year event or 1 in 300-year event or whatever. So when you think of those frequencies, you're probably not living long enough to see some of these. So, but just to give you some size to this spillway, it is, it's a kilometer long. A lot of concrete from, yeah, it's pretty impressive that way. So I was talking earlier about performance and design and when things are working right. The Gardner Dam spillway worked really well. Here's an example of a structure that was not designed for what happened to it. It was, this was in 2011, a roadway near Mydale, Saskatchewan. There was, I'm not sure what the flow rate going over it, but the structure that passes the flow under it, under designed, nobody's fault. It just ended up being that way. But water is very powerful and it will rip stuff apart. You can see here, that's probably 15 feet deep, that hole in the ground there. So all got rebuilt, all back to up to new standards now, but just to give you an idea of what that can look like. Technical maintenance. So that's something that I've been a big part of. I've just got a couple of pictures here showing people out doing some. Now standards for our organization, you wouldn't see people out here. We're a little bit, I don't know about slack, but safety standards have come a long ways. These are some older photos. We'd be a much more high visibility, hard hats, that kind of thing. So, but they're good. These photos are good for explaining what's kind of going on here though. So this is a bridge that we are currently monitoring. Got a total station, or this is an instrument that is used for monitoring it. These people have diplomas in surveying, civil. That's the kind of work that would come with that type of background. This here is, there's a pipe that goes down into the ground. This is actually sitting on top of a dam. There's a pipe that goes down into the ground. It's called the inclinometer. what it's reading is how the dam moves horizontally. If the dam moves, the pipe will bend, the instrument will pick it up. And these instruments are very, very precise. They will read to reads to 1/100th of a millimeter, but accurate to probably about 1/10 of a millimeter, which is probably about half the width of your fingernail. That's kind of the precision that's out there for monitoring these dams. They don't move a lot, but they do move, kind of thing. So this is the kind of instrumentation that's used. Here's the person, they're monitoring the spillway for settlement. And this rod is used for measuring vertical settlement. So, and it's accurate to around 1/10 of a millimeter. And another thing that is used, and lots of people have probably heard of global positioning systems, GPS. We use GPS, you usually use it in your car, kind of thing, or actually a lot of stuff has it now. But this would be used for measuring, and they can measure very accurately for long distances. We will measure probably around 1 kilometer, and to repeat those measurements to 1 millimeter, which is literally, twice the thickness of your fingernail. So how this is kind of gets done is through we assume the sides of the dam, the abutments, as a stable material, and the dam itself is what we're trying to measure to see if it's changing from the abutments. And yeah, this is the kind of tools that we end up using. Here's one of our workers downloading. There's an instrument that sits in the ground and takes a reading every, I don't know, probably every 8 hours, I believe it was. And she's just downloaded, collecting a lot of data. That's kind of, if you're working at a dam as a technologist, you're doing a lot of data collection. It's kind of how you're always measuring stuff to see if it's changing. If it's not changing, good. If it is changing, then you can be more aware of what's happening if there's a problem with the dam structurally. So just another instrument for surveying, for measuring stuff on the dam. We do use drones quite a bit. There's been a big increase in technology there. Things are always changing. We're pretty in a field that is constantly changing. And now they're using them for surveying. We used to have to go and with the rod or whatever and measure everything. Now you can just take pictures of stuff or use LiDAR, which is a laser that is mounted on this instrument right here. And it will map the ground for you. One thing we do use them drones for is they have a great ability to see things in a different perspective, which is pretty cool. Normally, if you're standing beside this, this is a stilling basin where your water runs into at a high rate, and sometimes the rock gets washed out. We have the ability with the drones to look from above, and we can see through what's all there. You can see like these stilling blocks. They kind of help calm the water. And this area here, we'd be looking to see if there's rock misplaced and that kind of thing. And it's looking through probably about 5 feet of water here. Whereas if you look from the side, you can't see nothing. On the maintenance side, which assists us with monitoring the dams, and that is we want to be able to see the slopes of the dam. So if something was failing, say there's going to be a big chunk of the dam moving, when we look down the slopes, we would see a bulge or something like that. So yeah, that's so when every so many years, depending on the consequence of the dam, there will be reviews, dam safety reviews done to just to confirm that everything looks good, that everybody's pretty much stepped on every square inch of the dam. Annually, there's inspections done. We'll mow the slopes with this remote control mower, which is pretty handy. This doesn't look like a steep slope there, but it's actually it's quite steep. You can hardly walk up it. Actually, it's like a 2-to-1. So every foot up, it goes 2 feet sideways. So it's kind of a quite steep slope. And the machine is able to drive on very steep slopes, so it's very handy that way. Maintenance in the winter. Sometimes people think that you don't have to monitor anything in the winter just because everything's froze solid. There's just as many hazards in the winter that need to be monitored with regards to the dam as summer, but sometimes you need to snow is an issue. As you can see here, this is in one of our maintenance guys took this picture. The snow is almost as high as the cab on the tractor. Other jobs that we have done over the years and continue to do is public safety. So this building underneath it has a large conduit, or like a big tunnel running underneath of it, and when it's operating or is releasing water through it, you'll see a vortex, like a kind of one of those little spinning swirly things. You don't want to get caught in that, so we'll go out and put these buoys out to mark out those hazardous locations, and that's part of the job of maintenance at our site. We all kind of work together. There's such a variety of work that we do. We may have signed up for have a diploma in surveying or civil engineering technology, but at times we will be doing other work out in the boat, which some days is really nice. This looks like a really nice day. I've been out there when the waves are 3 feet high trying to connect a log boom together. Not as much fun. Here's some other maintenance. We're doing inspections of some gate operations. This would be inside this building below the floor. This would be the top of one of the gates. Another fun maintenance job, cleaning the slab. Seems like a ridiculous job, but it's something. The technology now with the drones, we're able to fly the spillway slabs and they will scan the cracks in them. So you do a scan maybe every 5 years, and then you can go back to the previous scan that was done 5 years ago. Are the cracks getting bigger? Is there more cracks? All that kind of stuff. Between the software and the camera technology, it's pretty amazing. So that was one of the prep works that we were doing here. That was at the Grand Divine Dam. Other maintenance duties that we find ourselves doing is maybe relocating a geotechnical instrument like a piezometer or something like that across the road. Yeah, very broad variety of work. My regular duties outside of helping out here and there with some of that is just regular things that people do in the office. Look after people, check off people's timesheets, pay bills, occupational health and safety procedures, making sure everyone's following those, and that the company safety policies are being abided by, and that kind of thing. Some other work that I end up doing is reviewing new construction plans. So I'm not an engineer, but they do want our feedback as to know when people have experience with stuff, they are able to see if it's if there's foresee any issues with new designs and stuff like that, or just stuff that is happening around a structure. Different kinds of inspections. So a lot of what we do is for inspecting the dam. And then if issues are found, we are looking after fixing them or having someone come in and fix them. So it's kind of a continuous circle. And then also a big part of owning a dam, there's a lot of liability that comes with it. And the government, we need to have external auditors come in, which we'll do a review. They'll come in, review everything that's going on at the dam to make sure that that it's safe and it's not going to cause a problem if it fails or something like that. Those are the kind of things we're trying to prevent. This is just a photo of one of the inspections, engineering consultants out looking at stuff. This I believe is at the Grant Divine Dam, which would be, they're sitting right now probably about 110 feet below the ground, right in the middle of the dam. At the bottom there's a big tunnel that goes through it, and this here is the gate. You can just kind of see the outline. It's leaking a little bit. There's about 100 feet of water on the other side of that gate. So one of my jobs is reviewing the instrumentation data. So this is the Grant Divine Dam, or formerly known as Alameda Dam. This is all of the instrumentation that is inside the dam that is monitoring it. There's quite a number, and this is just what's inside the dam. There's another whole set of alignment pins, like steel bars that are pounded in the ground, that we measure to see if they're moving. That's so there's a lot of monitoring that goes on at dams. Here's what it looks like within the dam. This would be like where the road is. This dam is considered to be a high-tech dam, or not a high-tech, but an advanced design. So it has there's this little piece right here is a sand blanket, and this is all sand here. This is called a chimney drain, and there's sand blanket here. So if any water like makes its way through the dam, it's picked up in this drain and then just goes out the back of the dam. So when I was talking piezometers and they measure where the pore pressure is or where the water level is in the dam, that's all these little spots here. Those are instruments that are being relayed back to this building, and data is being collected on them to make sure that they're not getting high or odd things are happening. Earlier on, you've seen that person in the middle of the road reading an instrument. This would be one of those pipes in the ground. And sometimes there'll be a zone that is a weak point, and they call them shear zones. And these little lines will show up but everything is working as normal. Here's kind of data that is collected. All these little dots is somebody collecting the data and plotting it. Here's this big blue line would be the reservoir level. You can see here's a line here. This one would be located somewhere in the embankment. And you can see it took a while before the water infiltrated through the embankment to where this piezometer is, which is back in here. So some of the stuff takes years but it's a continuous monitoring plan. This is just a chart that is showing movement. So these pipes in the ground, like this would be this pipe right here. And it has this spot here is where it moves a little bit. And we're talking little. Consider this the pipe. This is the elevation that it's at. And right there is where it's bending. You can see the pipe bend. And that's 40 millimeters, which is maybe about the length of my index finger, or not quite. It's not much. Occupational health and safety. That's a big part of what our job is to some degree. We do a lot of training around it. We go in a lot of tight spaces, wells, big tunnels, and all kinds of oddball spaces. So we do have, there's always training going on. This here is just showing, we're practicing getting someone off the spillway slab. Here's another one. There's a well in one of the buildings, how we get somebody out, or how somebody goes to rescue somebody that has hurt themselves or what have you. This picture here is showing people that are, or this is not a real person, it's a mannequin we're using for extracting someone from this deep well. This picture doesn't do it justice. The bottom here, that's 90 feet down from the top. There's the nine flights of stairs to get up and down out of there. It's very tiring once you go in and out. Educational requirements. So there's quite a range. If you're where I work, most of the people, I have a diploma in surveying, or formerly known now as geomatics, engineering technology. A lot of the jobs are kind of based around civil technologists, civil engineering technologists, or civil engineers. Our technical staff would have some training similar to a civil technologist, which, to my knowledge, in our province, Moose Jaw, I believe, is the only place that trains them at the SAS Polytechnic. We do have on our maintenance side industrial mechanics, or an equivalent to industrial mechanic. They do look after gate operations, fixing various stuff on gates, making sure everything's working, minor maintenance with it, that kind of thing. And then generally our managers and leaders above us are, for the most part, are civil engineers or a similar discipline of engineering that oversee our work. So opportunities in this field. I think there's a lot there. Well, there is a lot, because I know the demand when we go to hire somebody, we struggle to find anybody because there's such a demand for it, for works within the civil structures. So, and we're just dealing with dams where we work. There is, anytime you look outside and drive on a road, you're driving on some that is designed and installed and overseen by someone in a civil department, whether it's a technologist, engineer, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of our main area. We always, every year we're hiring summer students from those areas. Other areas that will work within our division is water resource engineering technologists, environmental is another one. In the engineering side, we'll have structural, mechanical, hydrotechnical. There's quite a range there, and they all have something to do with some part of the dam. Best part of my job? Well, I think the thing I quite enjoy the most probably is the variety of tasks. As you've seen through my slideshow here, we have a lot of different things happening. Not a lot of every one of them, but you compile them all together, there's always something different going on, from public safety to making a gate operation to dealing with customers downstream that might be impacted by a large release from the dam or something like that. Learning new things, always encouraged that way, whether it be software or who knows, you might be asked to be doing a MC job at a staff conference or what have you. Always lots of new things like that. It's always fun. And I've always felt that, being a valuable part of an organization, from the ones above me to the ones that work for me and with me kind of thing. So that's always good. And another good part of where we work is we have pretty flexible hours to some degree, but generally if you've got vacation planned or what have you, we generally are able to work around some of that. If you're in a flood, that's a little bit different, but when you're monitoring dams, that's, you have an ability to adjust your schedule a bit. So that's people with families and stuff like that, that's always been very helpful for them. So another thing, I kind of had to laugh when I seen this photo. One day we were working on the spillway, had my lunch with me. Yeah, we're sitting, having a rest, eating our lunch on the spillway. And some days we do out in the hot dogs in the field, just with one of our heaters that you use for keeping warm in the winter time after a long confined space entry. It's kind of nice to get out and have a little break. So that was kind of fun too. Memorable moments over the years, I've had quite a few, but anybody that's been in the Southeast or that's been in the Souris River Valley would have remembered 2011. A lot of water passed through that year. And here's the Rafferty spillway releasing a large lake, more or less. It's about around 500 cubic meters per second. So a cubic meter is, well, you're looking at something like this cubed. One of those are passing every second, or 500 of those passing every second in this photo. Here's a video of the spillway operating that year. And you'll see here. The water, this is bouncing up and down probably about 20 feet. It's trying to dissipate the energy going spillway. Very surprising. It is very loud, and you can feel the ground shake when it's like this. I had something that kind of blew my mind at the time was I had a flashlight sitting on a shelf in the little building on top, and it was shaking back and forth. I have a video of it shaking back and forth from just the energy being dissipated at the spillway from that release. So, and then yes, just another photo of people this is at Main Prize Park, and the reservoir got very high there. Some buildings were right up to the foundations of them, and a few of things were underwater. So that concludes my presentation. I'd like to throw thanks out to Jeff Cameron and the Regina District Industry Education Council for the opportunity to present. And anybody that's interested in the field that I've enjoyed for 29 years, it's lots of opportunity there, and lots to learn, and in a area that is continually changing. So best of luck in the future, in you guys' future careers. Thanks.
Well, Neal, I just can't thank you enough for joining us today, taking the time to join us. And it was such an informational spotlight. And of course, water, you know, that's the most sustainable thing on earth that keeps us living. And Canada has a lot of fresh water, and we are so fortunate for that, and to have people like yourself looking after things for us. And gee, I just hope that a lot of high school kids out there can take a chance to view this. And I mean, the demand was going to be my first question, and you said that the demand is very high. What would be, just a question here to start, what would be the average if they were when they leave high school for college, for taking, how many years is it, 2, 3, 4, or can some step right into it?
Yeah, so civil technologist programs, in mechanical stuff, you can apprentice through that, which ends up being around that 4 years. But you're generally working and then in school kind of thing. And then the technologist side of it is generally 5 semesters, or actually, yeah. And if you're in the civil, doing a civil technologist, I believe in 2 years you can be done, because they have one long year, but it's usually around 5 semesters. When I went through it, it was 5 semesters, and I was involved with a co-op work term, which was very helpful. I think there's a huge advantage to being a technologist through that program, because you're able to get out and get experience in the field that you're, and that is the key. That is the key to advancing your career quickly, is as quickly as you can get that experience. So.
And okay, Neal, and like today, a lot of people, it seems like in Canada, it's all it is in the news, are struggling with groceries, with vehicles, housing. Can a person, a student that's watching this or coming out looking for a job, can you make a fairly comfortable job? Is it fairly good wages, benefits?
Yeah, the benefit, it's decent wages, good benefits. And you do have, if you're one that doesn't want to be working 80 hours a week, it's pretty stable that way. With, you know, you'll have some overtime and stuff, but you're looking, generally starting out, you're probably starting out in that $25 an hour area. And then as you progress within the union, you're probably getting to, you know, reaching supervisor or higher, whatever. That's, you're getting into 50 to 60, somewhere in there, yeah, or and higher. If you're into engineering and stuff like that, you're going to be substantially higher there. So.
Wow, I'm sure students out there listening would like to hear that, 50 and up. So, and starting at 25, wonderful. You said that the field is constantly changing, so that's something too that I know a lot of people don't like change. So students out there that maybe don't like change, then I guess I always think of JFK. He said, change is the law of life. And if you're constantly only looking to the present or the past, then the future will pass you by. So what would you tell a high school student? One of the key things, I know you've pretty much described it, but what would you tell them? One of the, you're outside a lot, but what would be one of the key things that you really, really enjoy about your job?
I like the variety of it. And for the most part, when I talk variety, if it's a terrible day outside, I can probably, when I talk variety, I talk about I'm outside, I'm inside. I have some flexibility on whether I'm choosing to work outside that day or inside. And that can be when you're forced to do something that you're not that crazy about, then that kind of gets to sucking. But in the sense of you have terrible, it's like 80-mile-an-hour wind and it's minus 20 and you're having to go do some of that. And don't kid me, there is times we have to be out there. I've been in the boat when I'd rather been in the office kind of thing, and it's you're freezing to death or whatever, stuff has to get done. But for the most part, the variety I think goes a long way in our where I work anyway. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. So a student that's going to graduate and looking at this type of profession, you would say the odds of them receiving a job are fairly good at this particular point in time?
yeah, here's an example. We had students, so we hire a number of students from SAS Polytechnic. We'll probably hire our organization at least a dozen a year. And the first time we put into for people and we get some resumes back, we ended up, there was hardly any other companies were scooping them up. So there's a good demand out there. Lots happening in the civil world these days, whether you're working for us or maybe it's a consultant or whatever, but there's lots of work. And it's, I always, some of the things I think of is like, who do you want to work for? A company that you're dealing directly with the person that's paying you, or the one that is, a larger company that you're over on the side, you don't have to deal with the pay things. Though that's the kind of work that we're in. We're not directly involved with money changing hands and that kind of thing. So it's there's some less stress with that, less pressure from people above you, that kind of thing. So there's lots of good things in the civil world, and majority of it is that way.
Well, Neal, thanks so much. I'd just like to end with this. Quite often, right now I'm a big Blue Jays fan and they're all over the manager, the hitting coaches, but I think at some point in life and everything, the players have to take some onus. Hockey coaches get fired. Like the players have to take some responsibility. So if you're a student out there and you like to be outside or you can be inside, working with water, working with, just a lot of good people, and you want to make a really good wage in this little bit of a rough economy, I would say, then you found your position. So the onus is on you to apply. They're looking for people. So there you go. Thanks so much, Neal.